Have you ever wished you could step back in time? To walk through ancient streets where every cobblestone whispers a story, where towering castles and winding canals take you to the heart of the Middle Ages. Today, we're embarking on a breathtaking journey through Europe's most amazing medieval towns, places so perfectly preserved, they look like scenes straight out of a fairy tale. From stone fortresses perched on hilltops to romantic canals lined with centuries-old buildings, each town holds secrets that have survived the test of time. So, buckle up and get ready to explore history like never before. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment of this epic adventure through Europe's living legends. Have you ever wished you could leave everything behind and step straight into a fairy tale? Not a theme park, not a replica, but a real place, frozen in time. Welcome to Rothenburg ob der Tauber, Germany's most enchanting medieval town, where every stone, every alley, every tower feels like it's whispering stories from centuries past. This isn't just a destination, it's a living dream. Nestled on the high banks of the Tauber River in the Bavarian region, Rothenburg is the very definition of medieval charm. Its name translates to Red Fortress above the Tauber, and from the moment you arrive, you're immersed in a world where the modern world simply doesn't exist. The town has survived wars, plagues, and time itself, and somehow remained almost perfectly preserved. You'll begin your journey at the iconic city walls. These ancient ramparts wrap around Rothenburg like protective arms. And yes, you can walk along them. As you stroll above the rooftops, through covered wooden walkways and lookout towers, it's easy to imagine archers standing watch, defending their home from invaders. The view is like something out of a storybook. Red tiled rooftops, church steeples, and winding cobbled lanes spreading out below you in perfect medieval harmony. But Rothenburg is more than just a pretty face. It's full of secrets and strange traditions. Take, for example, the famous Master Draft legend. Back in 1631, during the 30 Years' War, Catholic troops stormed the Protestant town. All hope seemed lost. But the invading general made a dramatic offer. If someone could drink over 3 liters of wine in one gulp, he would spare the town. The mayor took the challenge and succeeded. Rothenburg was saved. Today, this story is reenacted every year in an epic festival that brings the streets to life with costumed parades, cannon blasts, and medieval banquets. And then there's the Plone Line, the most photographed spot in town. You've probably seen it on postcards, calendars, maybe even jigsaw puzzles. But standing there in person, between the yellow timbered house, the split street, and the 2 towers flanking either side, feels surreal. It's like standing at the crossroads of reality and imagination. Wander deeper into Rothenburg and you'll discover the town's darker side, because history isn't always sunshine and spires. The Medieval Crime Museum is one of the most chillingly fascinating experiences you'll ever have. Inside, you'll find instruments of punishment, legal documents, torture devices, and grim reminders of how justice was served in the Middle Ages. From shame masks to executioner's swords, it's a raw, unfiltered look at a world that's long gone but not forgotten. And then, as the sun sets and golden light bathes the town in warm hues, a mysterious figure begins his walk through the streets. The night watchman, dressed in black robes, carrying a lantern and a halberd, he leads evening tours full of ghostly tales, historical secrets, and dry German humor. His voice echoes through the narrow alleys, reminding everyone that this town once slept behind locked gates, watched over by men like him. If you're lucky enough to visit in December, Rothenburg becomes something even more magical: Germany's most legendary Christmas town. The Reiterlesmarkt, one of the oldest Christmas markets in the country, transforms the main square into a glowing wonderland. You can sip warm Glühwein, try roasted chestnuts, and shop for handmade ornaments in the shadow of a massive Christmas tree, all while surrounded by the smells, sounds, and spirit of the season. And let's not forget the food. Try a local specialty called Schneeballen, a snowball-shaped pastry that's been a local treat for over 300 years. Covered in powdered sugar, chocolate, or even nuts, it's crunchy, sweet, and uniquely Rothenburg. Or sit in a centuries-old tavern and enjoy a hearty Franconian meal, roast pork, sauerkraut, and local beer served in a stone hall where knights might have once dined. What makes Rothenburg truly special is how authentic it feels. This isn't a set. It's not a simulation. People live here. Children play in the courtyards. Shops sell handmade goods. And every building, every street corner, every creaking door has stood the test of time. It's not just about seeing history, it's about feeling it. So if you ever find yourself craving a journey into the heart of Europe's medieval past, there's no better place to begin than Rothenburg ob der Tauber. It's not the biggest or the flashiest, but it's the kind of place that stays with you long after you've gone. Because Rothenburg isn't just a town, it's a story. And when you walk its streets, you become a part of it. What if I told you there's a town where time flows as slowly as the river that winds through it, where Renaissance facades, stone bridges, and castle towers create a world so beautiful you'd think it was painted by hand? This isn't a fantasy. This is Český Krumlov, a hidden treasure in the Czech Republic where the medieval spirit still walks the streets. Tucked into a dramatic loop of the Vltava River in South Bohemia, Český Krumlov feels like a secret waiting to be discovered. From the moment you set foot in this magical town, everything feels different, quieter, older, softer. The air smells of fresh stone and river mist. The narrow cobbled lanes twist and turn like a maze, each bend revealing something new: a frescoed wall, a Gothic church, or a tiny artisan shop glowing with candlelight. At the heart of Český Krumlov, rising above the rooftops like a crown, is the castle. Not just any castle, but the second largest in all of the Czech Republic, right after Prague's. It's a towering complex of courtyards, archways, and ancient halls, all built into a rocky hill that overlooks the town like a protective giant. As you climb up through the castle gates and stand on the bridge that connects its two halves, the view below is almost overwhelming. Red-tiled roofs stretch in all directions, following the river's curve like a painting brought to life. Step inside, and the castle reveals its most surprising treasure, a fully preserved Baroque theater from the 18th century. Unlike anything else in the world, this theater is a time capsule, complete with original wooden stage machinery, costumes, and hand-painted scenery. It was once the playground of nobility, where operas and dramas played out under candlelight. Today, it stands untouched, fragile, silent, and sacred. But Český Krumlov's magic isn't confined to its castle. The entire town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and walking through its streets is like stepping into a medieval novel. The architecture is a mix of Gothic, Renaissance, and Baroque, with pastel-colored buildings leaning slightly into the narrow alleys like old friends sharing secrets. Look up, and you'll see murals painted directly onto the walls, scenes of saints, battles, and heavenly visions watching you from the past. The town square Náměstí Svornosti is the heart of it all. Surrounded by cozy cafes and centuries-old townhouses, the square hosts local markets, festivals, and street musicians who seem to pull music out of the air. Grab a seat, sip a local Czech beer, and listen as the soft hum of conversation blends with the gentle flow of the river nearby. And speaking of the river, the Vltava is the soul of Český Krumlov. Winding gently through the town, it reflects the buildings like a mirror and brings life to every corner. In summer, you'll see wooden canoes floating beneath the stone bridges, paddlers waving as they pass under castle cliffs. At dusk, the water glows with the light of lanterns from nearby inns. It's the kind of beauty that doesn't need to announce itself, it simply exists. But this town isn't just about looking back, it's alive with culture. Český Krumlov is home to galleries, studios, and theaters, and every summer, the streets erupt into celebration during the Five-Petaled Rose Festival. For one weekend, the entire town transforms into a medieval world. Knights joust in the castle courtyard, jesters roam the alleys, and fireworks light up the sky over the river. Everyone wears historical costumes, from peasants to kings, and for a moment, the boundary between past and present disappears. If you're a lover of art, you'll find something truly unexpected here, the Egon Schiele Art Centrum. This modern gallery, named after the famous Austrian painter who once lived in the town, brings a bold, avant-garde energy into this traditional setting. It's just one more example of how Český Krumlov blends old and new with quiet grace. When night falls, the magic deepens. The crowds fade, and a soft stillness takes over. Street lamps cast golden halos on the cobblestones, and the castle looms above like a watchful spirit. You might hear distant laughter from a tavern, or the quiet splash of a boatman's oar. But mostly, it's peaceful, timeless, like the town itself is dreaming. And if you're wondering what to eat here, don't worry. Český Krumlov offers a feast for the senses. Traditional Czech dishes like roasted duck, dumplings, and creamy svíčková are served in medieval-style taverns where flickering candlelight and stone walls take you even deeper into the past. Try a honey-sweet mead or the region's signature beer and feel the centuries fall away with every sip. What makes Český Krumlov so unforgettable isn't just its beauty, it's how complete the experience feels. It's a place where every moment feels cinematic, where you lose track of time because time no longer matters. The town doesn't shout for attention, it whispers. And if you slow down and listen, you'll hear stories that no guidebook can tell. So whether you're wandering the castle gardens, drifting along the river, or simply sitting under a centuries-old archway as church bells echo in the distance, Český Krumlov invites you to stop, breathe, and believe in magic again. What if you could walk straight into the pages of a medieval legend where knights once rode through fortress gates and stone towers stood tall against invading armies? What if that world still existed, not as a ruin, but fully alive, echoing with footsteps from centuries ago? Welcome to Carcassonne, France's most breathtaking medieval fortress. A walled city so perfect, it feels like it was dreamed into existence. Perched high on a hill in the Languedoc region of southern France, Carcassonne is not just a town, it's a citadel, a fortress, a medieval stronghold that has seen empires rise and fall, and yet still stands defiant, its stone walls as proud and imposing as ever. From a distance, the sight of Carcassonne will take your breath away. It looks surreal, like a movie set, but the closer you get, the more real it becomes, and the more you feel time begin to bend. As you cross the drawbridge and step through the Narbonnaise Gate, flanked by two massive towers, you are transported. The outside world disappears behind you. Inside the citadel, winding alleys weave between stone houses and battlements, and the air is thick with the scent of history, earth, stone, and stories. Carcassonne is unlike any other medieval site in Europe. It boasts 52 towers and 2 concentric rings of fortified walls, stretching nearly 3 kilometers in total. These aren't romantic ruins, they are whole, walkable, and alive. As you stroll along the ramparts, looking down on the modern city far below, you begin to grasp the strategic brilliance of this place. This was no ordinary village, it was a military masterpiece. Its history is just as powerful. Carcassonne has stood here since the Gallo-Roman period, but it reached its medieval glory in the 12th and 13th centuries. It was a stronghold of the Cathars, a religious group condemned by the Catholic Church as heretics. When Pope Innocent III launched the Albigensian Crusade, Carcassonne became a battleground. The city was besieged in 1209, and its walls witnessed horrors and heroism that shaped the history of France. And yet, the fortress survived. It passed from hands of nobles to kings, and when its military importance faded in the 17th century, it began to decay. By the 1800s, Carcassonne was on the verge of demolition until one man saved it. Architect Eugène Viollet-le-Duc led a controversial but extraordinary restoration project that revived the citadel, making it the icon we see today. As you explore the Basilica of Saints Nazarius and Celsus, with its Gothic arches and stained glass windows glowing in rainbow hues, you can almost hear the voices of medieval choristers. The narrow streets around it are full of life. Blacksmiths hammering away in shop fronts, street performers playing lutes, and bakers pulling golden loaves from wood-fired ovens. Yes, it's touristy, but the spirit here is strong. It's not fake. It's theater rooted in truth. Climb to the top of one of the towers, and you'll see the Pyrenees Mountains stretching out to the south, their snow-capped peaks glowing in the sun. The landscape is rugged and beautiful, a constant reminder of the dangers that once lurked beyond the horizon. For medieval Carcassonne, this was not just a town, it was a shield. And then there's the Chateau Comtal, the Count's castle, nestled within the walls of the citadel like a fortress within a fortress. Walk across its wooden bridge, step into the inner courtyard, and feel the weight of 1,000 years pressing gently against your skin. Inside, museum exhibits trace the timeline of Carcassonne through artifacts, weapons, and crumbling manuscripts. But perhaps the most powerful experience is just standing silently in the stone corridors, imagining the lives that passed through them, lords, knights, prisoners, children. As day fades to night, Carcassonne transforms. Lanterns flicker to life, casting shadows on the ramparts. The crowds begin to thin. The sound of your own footsteps becomes louder, more meaningful. You start to feel like you're not just visiting the past, you're part of it. Especially in summer, when the Festival de Carcassonne fills the citadel with music, theater. Samantha had always thought her family's home was ordinary, nothing special. Nestled in a quiet neighborhood, it was a cozy 2-story house with a white picket fence and a well-kept garden. Yet, as she wandered the dusty attic one afternoon, something unusual caught her eye. In the far corner, beneath a pile of forgotten boxes, she noticed a narrow trapdoor hidden under the floorboards. Curiosity piqued. She knelt down and pulled it open. The small stairwell that lay beneath led to a dim, musty tunnel. The walls were lined with stone, and a faint, cool breeze seemed to whisper from deep within. Heart racing, Samantha descended cautiously, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. The tunnel stretched far longer than she expected, twisting and turning beneath the earth. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was trespassing, that something was waiting for her. After what felt like an eternity, the tunnel finally opened up into a hidden room. The walls were lined with old bookshelves filled with strange, leather-bound volumes. In the center of the room, an old desk sat, surrounded by dusty papers and journals. As Samantha skimmed through the documents, her hands trembled. The record spoke of forbidden rituals and secret societies, her family's name mentioned repeatedly. What if I told you there was once a city where Christians, Muslims, and Jews lived side by side, sharing knowledge, building monuments, and shaping a legacy that would influence all of Europe? A city carved into a rocky hilltop, surrounded by a river that guarded it like a moat. A city so rich in history, it earned the name the City of Three Cultures. That city is Toledo. Perched above the Tagus River in central Spain, Toledo isn't just a medieval town, it's a living museum, a cultural time capsule where every stone has seen empires rise and fall. From the moment you catch sight of its skyline crowned by cathedrals, mosques, and fortresses, you know you've entered sacred ground. This was once the capital of the Visigothic kingdom, later a stronghold of Islamic Al-Andalus, and finally, a jewel of Christian Spain. And somehow, it preserved it all. As you cross the Puente de San Martin, an arched stone bridge from the 14th century, the grandeur of Toledo reveals itself. Towering gates open into a labyrinth of narrow, twisting streets that climb the hill like veins, lined with centuries-old houses and echoing footsteps that could be your own or someone from 800 years ago. The crown jewel of Toledo is the Cathedral Primata, one of the most stunning Gothic cathedrals in the world. Its spires pierce the sky, but it's what lies inside that truly stuns. Marble columns stretch into the heavens. Light pours through stained glass windows, casting a kaleidoscope of color onto ancient stone. Altarpieces gleam with gold, and tucked away in a quiet sacristy, you'll find paintings by El Greco, who called Toledo home. His art, much like the city itself, feels otherworldly, haunting. At night, something extraordinary happens. As the sun dips below the horizon and golden light bathes the city's towers, Toledo begins to glow. The river reflects the city like a painting. Torches flicker to life, and shadows stretch across ancient plazas. The modern world fades, and for a few hours, it feels like the Middle Ages never ended. And if you want to see the city in all its glory, climb to the Mirador del Valle, a panoramic viewpoint across the river. From there, Toledo appears like a dream. The cathedral rising like a beacon, the Alcazar standing watch, the Tagus curling protectively around it all. It's a sight so striking, it's been called one of the greatest views in all of Spain. Toledo's power lies in its ability to transport you. It doesn't just show you the Middle Ages, it immerses you in them. You don't just visit, you become part of the story. Every church bell, every stone arch, every hidden alley is an invitation to connect with something deeper, something eternal. This is not a town built for convenience. It's a town built for memory, for faith, for legacy. And that legacy lives on in the walls, in the art, in the silence between footsteps as you walk alone at dusk through streets lit only by lanterns. So if you ever find yourself yearning for a place where time slows down, where cultures meet, and where history doesn't sleep, it waits for you, then go to Toledo. Because this is more than a city. This is a legend written in stone. What if I told you there's a town where time feels suspended, where swans glide down tranquil canals and Gothic spires pierce the clouds above cobblestone streets? A town so beautifully preserved, it feels less like you're visiting a place and more like you've wandered into a dream. This is Bruges, and once you arrive, you may never want to leave. Located in the heart of West Flanders, Belgium, Bruges, also known as the Venice of the North, is a medieval marvel that has somehow escaped the chaos of modernity. It's not just charming, it's a masterpiece. A place where every building, every alley, every ripple in the water reflects hundreds of years of stories, secrets, and silent wonder. The moment you arrive in Bruges, you're welcomed by serenity. The soft clip-clop of horses pulling carriages echoes off the buildings. The scent of Belgian waffles drifts through the air. Church bells ring somewhere in the distance. And as you cross one of its many stone bridges, gazing down into the mirror-like canals, you realize this place isn't trying to impress you. It already knows it's unforgettable. At the center of Bruges is the Markt, the bustling main square surrounded by colorful stepped gable houses and dominated by the iconic Belfry of Bruges. Standing at over 80 meters tall, the Belfry has watched over the city since the 13th century. Climb its narrow, winding staircase of 366 steps, and you'll be rewarded with panoramic views of the red rooftops below and the sprawling countryside beyond. But more than that, you'll hear the heartbeat of the city, the bells ringing out melodies that have marked time for generations. Beneath the tower, life carries on as it has for centuries. Cafes spill onto the square, locals bike past at a leisurely pace, and shop windows gleam with handcrafted lace and rich Belgian chocolates. There's something gentle about Bruges, something intimate. It doesn't scream for your attention, it whispers, gently pulling you deeper into its story. Wander the narrow lanes behind the square, and you'll soon find yourself along the Rozenhoutkaai, one of the most photographed spots in all of Belgium. Here, the canal curves gracefully beneath drooping willow trees, with medieval buildings stacked like storybook illustrations along the water's edge. Come at sunrise or sunset, and the golden light transforms the entire scene into a painting. And yet, there's more than beauty here. Bruges was once one of the wealthiest cities in Europe, a major port and a hub for the Hanseatic League during the Middle Ages. Its legacy as a powerful trading center lives on in its architecture, from the Gothic City Hall to the towering Church of Our Lady, which houses a stunning marble sculpture by Michelangelo, one of the few of his works to leave Italy during his lifetime. Art, history, and faith are woven tightly into the fabric of Bruges. Visit the Basilica of the Holy Blood, a small yet extraordinary chapel tucked away beside the city hall. Inside, you'll find a relic believed to contain a vial of Christ's blood brought to the city during the Second Crusade. Whether or not you believe in its power, The devotion and reverence that fills the chapel is undeniable. Candles flicker, tourists fall silent, time slows. Bruges is also a city of swans, and they're not just decoration. According to legend, the swans were placed here as a punishment. When the people of Bruges executed one of the advisors of the Emperor Maximilian in the 15th century, he ordered them to keep swans on their canals forever. Today, they glide gracefully beneath stone bridges, adding to the town's fairy tale ambiance, like living ghosts from a long-forgotten past. And if all this sounds too quiet, wait until you hear the silence of Bruges at night. As the last day trippers leave and dusk settles in, the town undergoes a transformation. The canals turn to glass. Lanterns glow along the pathways. The only sounds are your own footsteps and the occasional bell from a distant tower. It's in these quiet hours that Bruges feels the most magical, like a spell has been cast across the city. Of course, you can't talk about Bruges without mentioning the food. Belgian cuisine is rich, comforting, and best experienced slowly. Try a steaming pot of moles frites mussels with fries, or indulge in carbonade flamande, a slow-cooked beef stew made with dark beer. And yes, the chocolate. It's not hype, it's heavenly. Step into a small chocolatier and watch the craft unfold, each truffle made by hand, each piece a work of edible art. What sets Bruges apart from other medieval towns is not just how well it's preserved, but how deeply it makes you feel. It's not a place you rush through, it's a place you drift through, where beauty is not flashy but quiet, where history doesn't demand your attention, it simply waits for you to notice. So if you're looking for a place where the past is not just remembered, but still alive, where love stories, legends, and lullabies float on still waters beneath Gothic arches, then you must come to Bruges. Because Bruges is more than a destination. It's a love letter to time itself. What if I told you there's a town in Tuscany where medieval skyscrapers still rise against the sky, tall, proud, and untouched by time? A place where every stone echoes the ambition of ancient families, and every alley opens to vistas so stunning they leave you breathless? Welcome to San Gimignano, the Manhattan of the Middle Ages, and one of Italy's most mesmerizing medieval treasures. As your car winds through the sun-kissed hills of Tuscany, past rows of cypress trees and golden vineyards, San Gimignano emerges on the horizon like a mirage. Its tall towers rise from the hilltop like stone sentinels, standing guard over the Val d'Elsa below. And even before you arrive, you can feel it. This isn't just another quaint Italian village. This is a city built to impress. In the 13th century, San Gimignano was a powerful and wealthy commune. Its elite families, locked in constant competition, sought to outdo each other in the most visible way possible, by building taller and taller towers. These towers weren't just homes, they were status symbols, power plays carved in stone. At its peak, the town boasted over 70 towers, scratching at the sky. Today, 14 still remain silent but majestic, offering a window into a time when height meant everything. Enter through the Porta San Giovanni, one of the town's ancient gates, and step into a world that hasn't changed in centuries. Cobblestone streets twist uphill between ochre-colored buildings. Flower boxes bloom from iron balconies. Every shopfront feels like it's been here forever, selling wine, cheese, leather, or delicate ceramics. But the true heart of San Gimignano is its main square, Piazza della Cisterna. Named after the ancient well at its center, this square is surrounded by towers, palaces, and cafes. Sit here for just a few minutes, and you'll understand the rhythm of the town. The hum of voices, the distant clang of church bells, the scent of fresh bread and herbs drifting from nearby kitchens. Everything is warm, slow, and soaked in history. Not far from the square is the Collegiata di Santa Maria Assunta, San Gimignano's Romanesque cathedral. Step inside, and you're surrounded by walls covered in vivid fresco stories, from the Bible brought to life in color and motion. There's no need for written text here. The paintings speak for themselves. Heaven and hell, saints and sinners, miracles and martyrdom, all painted with a rawness that's impossible to forget. For a deeper look into the town's origins, climb the Torre Grossa, the tallest tower in San Gimignano. From the top, you'll see a sweeping panorama of rolling Tuscan hills, dotted with olive groves and vineyards. But what's even more powerful than the view is the feeling, the sensation of standing where nobles once stood, surveying their domain, dreaming of immortality. And immortality, in a way, is what San Gimignano achieved. When the plague struck in the 14th century, much of the town's population was lost. Trade routes shifted, power declined. But because the town was essentially frozen in time, its medieval architecture remained untouched. Unlike many places that evolved into modern cities, San Gimignano stayed preserved an open-air museum of the Middle Ages. But don't be fooled, this town is anything but lifeless. Today, it's full of artists, winemakers, and dreamers. Visit one of the many local vineyards just outside the walls, and you'll discover Vernaccia di San Gimignano, a crisp white wine praised by popes and poets alike. Sit in a shady courtyard, glass in hand, and let the golden Tuscan sun wash over you. It's not just relaxing, it feels sacred. And then there's the gelato. Yes, every Italian town has gelato, but San Gimignano is home to the Gelateria Dondoli, a world champion gelateria tucked right on the Piazza della Cisterna. People travel from across the globe to taste its creations, flavors like saffron with pine nuts, rosemary raspberry, or aged balsamic vinegar. One bite, and you'll understand the hype. It's not dessert, it's art. As twilight falls over the town, the crowds begin to thin. The towers cast long shadows. The stone streets cool. Lights begin to glow from windows above, and music drifts softly from a distant balcony. You'll find yourself wandering slowly, aimlessly, because in San Gimignano, there's no rush. Every corner holds beauty. Every moment feels meaningful. Perhaps what makes San Gimignano so unforgettable is its silence. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper. A stillness, a sense of place. You feel it in the stone beneath your feet, in the echo of your steps, in the quiet pride of the towers that have stood for 700 years. This is not a town trying to entertain you. It's not chasing trends or flashing neon lights. San Gimignano offers something far more rare: authenticity. A place where ambition once soared into the skies and where its echoes still linger in the air. So if you're looking to lose yourself in a story of medieval rivalry, artistic brilliance, and Tuscan serenity, come here. Walk slowly, look up, breathe deep. Because in San Gimignano, the past isn't just remembered, it's honored. And the towers, tall and silent, are still watching. What if I told you there's a place where the Middle Ages live on, not in ruins or dusty museums, but in a vibrant, beating heart of a city? A place where cobbled streets lead to spired towers, where the air smells of roasted almonds and chimney smoke, and where ancient walls still whisper stories from a time of knights and merchants. Welcome to Tallinn, Estonia, Europe's best preserved medieval city and one of its most enchanting secrets. From the moment you step through the towering Viru Gate, you're transported. Not in theory, not in imagination, but literally back in time. The old town of Tallinn isn't just old. It's a living, breathing medieval wonderland. The winding lanes, the red-tiled rooftops, the fortified stone walls, they're all real, authentic, unchanged in hundreds of years. Once a thriving member of the Hanseatic League, Tallinn was a powerful port city that attracted traders, seafarers, and craftsmen from across Europe. And as you wander its streets, you can still feel that pulse of commerce and culture. Only now, instead of trading furs and salt, they're serving craft beers and handmade wool cloaks. Make your way to Platz, the city's main square. It's vast and filled with energy, surrounded by colorful merchant houses and open-air cafes. At its heart stands the Tallinn Town Hall, a stunning Gothic building that's been here since the 14th century. With its tall spire topped by the famous Old Thomas weather vane, the town hall is more than architecture. It's a symbol of Tallinn's resilience and pride. Here's a tip. Climb the narrow spiral staircase inside the tower. It's a workout. But when you emerge, you'll be rewarded with sweeping views of the old town sea of terracotta rooftops and church spires, punctuated by the shimmering Baltic Sea in the distance. But Tallinn's magic doesn't stop at surface beauty. Head deeper into the city, and you'll discover the Toompea Hill, the upper town. This is where Estonia's nobility once ruled, and today, it houses the Estonian Parliament and the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, a dramatic, onion-domed church that looks like it belongs in Moscow, not the Baltics. It's a reminder of Estonia's complex history, caught between Western Europe and the Russian Empire. Just steps away is the Kotuotsa viewing platform, arguably the best view in Tallinn. Come here at sunset. Watch as the rooftops glow golden, the church bells toll in the distance, and the city quietly slips into night. It's nothing short of cinematic. Down below, the lower town is full of surprises. You'll find hidden courtyards, medieval taverns, and tiny boutiques selling Estonian handicrafts, hand-knitted mittens, carved wooden toys, and bottles of local Vana Tallinn liqueur. There's even a working apothecary, the Reapteek, that's been operating since 1422. They used to sell powdered unicorn horn here. Today, you can try clove-spiced marzipan or medieval herbal teas. And if you're into legends, Tallinn has plenty. According to local lore, the city got its name from Tallinn, meaning Danish castle, when Danish forces conquered the area in 1219. They say the Danish flag, the oldest national flag still in use, fell from the sky during the battle, blessing the Danes with victory. That very spot is now marked in Toompea. Wander at night, and the city reveals another side. The gaslit lanterns cast long shadows. The tall walls seem to lean inward, as if to listen. And the silence isn't eerie, it's comforting. Like the city is tucking you in with centuries of stories. Don't leave without visiting St. Catherine's Passage, a narrow alleyway where artisans still practice traditional crafts just as their ancestors did centuries ago. You can watch glassblowers, ceramicists, and leatherworkers shape their trade by hand. It's not a performance, it's preservation. And if you're hungry, Tallinn delivers something unforgettable. A chance to eat like a medieval noble. Step inside Olde Hansa, a candle-lit tavern styled in full medieval decor. The staff wear period costumes, and the menu includes wild boar, elk sausage, honey beer, and nutty cheeses. It may sound like a gimmick, but it's authentic. No modern lighting, no soda, just roaring fireplaces and food that tastes like history. What truly sets Tallinn apart is how it blends the past and present so seamlessly. Unlike some cities that preserve a single old street or square, Tallinn's entire old town is medieval, and it's not just for tourists it's lived in. Locals pass through on their morning commutes, students bike through the alleys. Life continues inside the ancient walls, just as it has for centuries. Perhaps that's the real magic. Tallinn doesn't just show you the Middle Ages, it lets you live them. For a few hours, or even a few days, you're not watching history through glass. You're walking inside it, feeling the stone, smelling the wood smoke, hearing the same church bells that rang out when knights rode through the gates. In Tallinn, time folds. And in that fold, you'll find something rare and unforgettable, a connection to a past that isn't gone, to a story that's still being told. All you have to do is listen. Imagine standing at the edge of a mighty stone bridge, and rising before you is a scene so unreal, so impossibly grand, you'd swear it was pulled straight from a fantasy film. Towering walls, jagged battlements, and 53 watchtowers form a silhouette against the sky like the crown of a sleeping giant. This isn't a movie set, it's real. And it's called Carcassonne, a medieval fortress town in southern France that will steal your breath and transport your soul. Carcassonne is not just old, it's a legend carved in stone, a fortress so impenetrable, it was said the devil himself couldn't breach it. And when you walk through the Narbonne Gate, beneath its twin turrets and over the wooden drawbridge, the outside world disappears. You're no longer in the 21st century. You've stepped into the Middle Ages. Every inch of Carcassonne feels intentional, built to awe, defend, and endure. Its origins stretch back over 2,000 years, but it was during the 12th and 13th centuries that it became a mighty stronghold during the Albigensian Crusade, a brutal war between the Catholic Church and the Cathar heretics of southern France. The walls you see today, restored in the 19th century by architect Viollet-le-Duc, are a masterclass in medieval military design. Double ramparts, moats, towers with slits for arrows and boiling oil. But Carcassonne is more than just stone and war. Once inside the walls, you'll discover a fairy tale town winding cobblestone lanes, shuttered windows bursting with flowers, and cozy cafes tucked between centuries-old buildings. It's peaceful, dreamlike, the kind of place where time slows down. The heartbeat of the citadel is the Basilica of Saints Nazarius and Celsus, a Gothic Romanesque masterpiece with stained glass windows that catch the sun like liquid jewels. When the light hits just right, and the ancient organ pipes fill the air with haunting melody, it feels like you're standing inside a cathedral frozen in a single, eternal prayer. But Carcassonne wasn't always so serene. In the early 1200s, it became the last stronghold of the Cathars, a religious group labeled heretical by the church. When the Crusaders arrived to crush the movement, Carcassonne became a city under siege. According to legend, the townspeople held out for days, starving and desperate, until one clever woman, Dame Carcass, threw a fat pig over the wall to fool the enemy into thinking they had plenty of food. The trick worked. The attackers gave up, and the name Carcassonne, they say, comes from her. Carcassonne? Carcass sounds the bells. Whether true or not, the tale captures the spirit of this place. Clever, proud, unbroken. Wander the outer walls at twilight, and you'll feel it in the silence. The way the towers catch the last glow of the sun, the wind whistling through arrow slits, the way shadows creep across the ancient stones like ghosts of soldiers long gone. And yet, despite its medieval might, Carcassonne is remarkably intimate. It's not a city you rush through. It's a place to wander slowly, to stop for a glass of wine in a hidden courtyard, to sample cassoulet, a rich, hearty stew of duck, pork, and white beans that tastes like history in a bowl. At night, Carcassonne becomes something else entirely. The crowds thin, the lanterns flicker to life, and suddenly, you feel like the only soul inside this stone kingdom. The narrow alleys echo with your footsteps. The scent of lavender and old stone fills the air. You can almost hear whispers from the past, the clang of blacksmiths, the rustle of silk, the soft weeping of lovers parted by war. This isn't just a tourist stop, it's a time machine. And the best part? Carcassonne is still alive. Unlike many medieval towns that feel preserved under glass, this one breathes. People live here. Children play in the squares. Families own the same buildings their ancestors once did. You'll find artisan shops selling handmade soaps, ironwork, and medieval costumes, not for show, but for festivals that still celebrate the city's past with jousting, music, and fireworks that light up the castle walls. In fact, one of the most spectacular times to visit is Bastille Day, July 14th. On that night, the entire citadel is illuminated in gold and red with a firework display so massive, it draws thousands from across France. The sight of the fortress ablaze in light, set against the deep indigo sky, is something you'll never forget. Carcassonne is a paradox, a fortress that feels gentle, a ruin that never died, a relic that refuses to be forgotten. It stands not just as a monument to medieval architecture, but as a symbol of survival, reinvention, and quiet majesty. So many places promise a taste of history. Carcassonne delivers the full banquet. Step through its gates, and you'll understand. This is not just one of Europe's most amazing medieval towns. It is Europe's living legend. What if I told you there's a town in the heart of Tuscany where the skyline hasn't changed in over 700 years? a place where medieval towers pierce the clouds like ancient skyscrapers, and every stone street leads you deeper into a world that time forgot. Welcome to San Gimignano, a town so enchanting, so unreal. It feels like a Renaissance painting come to life. At first glance, San Gimignano might look small, perched on a hilltop among Tuscany's golden fields and cypress trees. But as you approach, the towers come into view, 14 of them still standing, bold and proud, relics of a time when power wasn't measured in gold, but in how high you could build. In the 13th century, San Gimignano was a bustling stop along the Via Francigena, the ancient pilgrimage road connecting Canterbury to Rome. Wealth flowed in from merchants, travelers, and nobles, and with that wealth came ambition. Families began constructing ever taller towers, trying to outdo one another, turning the town into a vertical battlefield of stone and pride. At its peak, there were over 70 towers, stabbing the sky like the fingers of feuding dynasties. Today, just 14 remain, but they are enough to leave you breathless. Walk beneath them, and you'll feel like a child dwarfed by giants. But San Gimignano is more than its towers. It's the soul of medieval Tuscany. Step through the Porta San Giovanni, the town's southern gate, and you're instantly immersed in warm stone walls, winding alleys, and sun-dappled piazzas. Every building whispers a story. Every courtyard hides a secret. The heart of the town is Piazza della Cisterna, named after the ancient well at its center. It's here that festivals once erupted, markets thrived, and minstrels performed under the Tuscan sun. Now, it's a place to pause, sip a glass of Vernaccia wine, the town's signature white, and watch the world go by as it did centuries ago. Just a few steps away lies Piazza del Duomo, home to the Collegiata di Santa Maria Assunta, a cathedral filled with frescoes that shimmer with color and emotion. Inside, you'll find stories from the Bible painted across the walls and scenes so vivid they feel like dreams. The Last Judgment fresco, with its towering angels and terrifying demons, is a masterpiece of medieval imagination, a reminder of how closely life and death once walked side by side. Climb the Torre Grossa, the tallest of the town's towers, and you'll be rewarded with a view that hasn't changed much since Dante walked these hills. Rolling vineyards, ancient olive groves, and distant hill towns stretch to the horizon in every direction. In that moment, it's easy to understand why San Gimignano was called the Manhattan of the Middle Ages. But it's not just the views or the art or the architecture, it's the feeling. San Gimignano hums with something timeless. Maybe it's the way sunlight dances on terracotta rooftops. Maybe it's the smell of fresh bread drifting from a wood-fired bakery tucked in a back alley. Or maybe it's the sound of footsteps on cobblestones, echoing down corridors where knights once rode and merchants once bartered. There's a rhythm here, slow, deliberate, and beautifully old. In San Gimignano, you don't rush. You linger, you taste, you breathe. And speaking of taste, no visit is complete without stopping at Gelateria Dondoli, often hailed as serving the best gelato in the world. It's no exaggeration. Flavors like saffron with pine nuts, Vernaccia sorbet, or wild berry with lavender will redefine everything you thought you knew about gelato. Standing in the shadow of a medieval tower, gelato in hand, it's impossible not to smile. And then, as evening falls, San Gimignano transforms. The day trippers vanish. The golden sun melts into the stone. Lights flicker in old windows, and the town exhales. It's quieter now, more intimate. The towers, once symbols of family rivalries, now stand as silent guardians of history, casting long shadows over the slumbering streets. Wander a bit deeper after dark, and you might hear the faint strum of a guitar or the soft tolling of a distant bell. Locals gather in dimly lit taverns, pouring glasses of Chianti, sharing stories that stretch back generations. And if you're lucky enough to visit during one of San Gimignano's medieval festivals, you'll see the past resurrected costumes, jousts, music, and parades that make the streets come alive with ancient spirit. This is San Gimignano, not just a medieval town, a masterpiece suspended in time, a living fresco on a Tuscan hill. It doesn't demand attention, it earns it, not through spectacle, but through soul, through quiet beauty, rich history, and the unwavering echo of a world long gone but never forgotten. Come here not to be entertained, but to be transformed. Because in San Gimignano, every tower is a story, every street is a memory, and every moment is a gift from the past. What if there was a place where every canal, every cobbled street, every medieval spire seemed frozen in a storybook? A place where swans glide gracefully beneath stone bridges and centuries-old bells toll gently over quiet squares. This is Bruges, Belgium's medieval jewel, and one of Europe's most enchanting towns. Once you arrive, you'll understand why it's called the Venice of the North. Bruges' charm is undeniable. From the moment you step onto its ancient streets, you're enveloped in a fairy tale of Gothic architecture, picturesque waterways, and a timeless atmosphere that feels untouched by modern rush. But don't mistake its beauty for mere decoration. Bruges was once one of Europe's richest cities, a thriving center of trade and culture during the Middle Ages. The heart of Bruges beats strongest in the Markt, the bustling main square surrounded by brightly colored guild houses. Towering above it all is the Belfry of Bruges, its imposing silhouette a reminder of the city's power and prestige. Climb its narrow staircase and you'll be rewarded with panoramic views of rooftops, canals, and the lush Flemish countryside stretching beyond. Venture beyond the square and the city reveals its layers, secret courtyards, hidden gardens, and peaceful lanes lined with lace shops and chocolate boutiques. The canals reflect centuries of history, their still waters carrying whispers of merchant ships and medieval markets. At the Basilica of the Holy Blood, you can glimpse a relic said to contain Christ's blood, an extraordinary symbol of faith that draws pilgrims and visitors alike. Nearby, the Church of Our Lady houses Michelangelo's stunning marble sculpture of the Madonna and Child, a rare masterpiece that connects Bruges to the great Renaissance artists of Italy. But Bruges is more than its monuments. It's a city alive with stories of merchants, artisans, and families who shaped its destiny. Stroll the Rosenhoedkai at sunrise. When soft light paints the water, gold and swans glide silently past, and you'll feel the magic that has enchanted visitors for centuries. As night falls, Bruges transforms again. Lanterns cast warm glows on ancient stones, and the gentle lapping of water becomes the city's lullaby. The crowds thin, leaving space for quiet contemplation and the chance to imagine medieval life unfolding just beyond the walls. No visit is complete without savoring Bruges' culinary delights, rich Belgian chocolates, crisp waffles dusted with sugar, and hearty Flemish stews paired with world-class local beers. Each bite is a taste of history, culture, and the warmth of Flemish hospitality. Bruges reminds us that medieval towns aren't just relics, they're living stories. They invite us to slow down, look closer, and listen to the echoes of the past that still resonate today. So, when you seek a place where time stands still, where beauty and history intertwine, and where every corner holds a secret, come to Bruges. Because here, the Middle Ages are not just remembered, they're alive. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed exploring Prague as much as I enjoyed guiding you through it. If you found this travel guide helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more beautiful destinations from around the world. Got a favorite spot in Prague? Drop it in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, safe travels and see you in the next video.